You for letting us talk to you this morning. It probably hasn't gone quite as quickly as we thought it was going to. My name is Ron Hemingway. I've been employed at the Rumford Paper Mill for 34 years. I started when I was about 14, I think. And about 25 years ago, I became a union officer, and I have been in one capacity or another working for the union for many years. And that union now is USW. Like companies, we've changed several times. We were UPIU. We were PACE, and now we're under USW with the union. And the name of the company changed from Boise Cascade. The day I got there, it was Boise Cascade. It was Epic Corporation before that. It became Mead, it became Mead Westvaco, and now we're NewPage. I'm not sure what we're going to be next week. I've also been an officer for the Maine Labor Council for about 18 years, and I've heard testimony from other paper mills throughout Maine. Our story is not unique among paper mills. I'm sure you've heard a similar story, and even worse, right at the oldest mill in Jay lately. They have gone down. We had multiple layoffs for the past couple of years, and we've had about 100 members laid off the past year, and those were out for nearly a year and running. During this time, we had many other layoffs mixed in, including myself for several weeks. When there is a long-term layoff, some of which is called by the illegal importation of paper from China and Indonesia, many things happen. And I do want to stress what we're talking here today mostly about is illegal importation. First off, the most junior people go out the door when we have layoffs. These people hit the street, file for unemployment, then they start looking for other services. This costs the towns and the state a lot of money. Our mill has qualified for TRA, for the past few layoffs. So this demonstrates that the layoffs are caused by imports. You have to apply for that, and it has to be granted. These people would rather just continue to work. They have pride. They do not like to file for unemployment. They want to go to work, they want to earn money, and they want to support their own family. Only about 20 of the 130 total people that have gone out, of that, about 20 of them did not come back to work. And that's because those were quite a ways along, I believe, in their TAA education, and they're on the bottom of that recall. They're the ones that go out and inside the door all the time, and they just had enough. They said, we're not coming back. As you know, when workers are laid off from a manufacturing facility, they do not have as much money to spend in their community. But there is more than just these workers, as you've heard from the other ladies present. When the mill shuts down, partially or totally, then many other workers lose their livelihood. Loggers, chemical suppliers, the wood chip plants that are spread throughout the state, I think we have 4 or 5 that supply us, they also lose when we go down. And they also have families, and they have business bills to pay. Then other businesses depend on them as well, and the fallout is huge. The average age at our mill, which is fairly normal throughout the state, is about 54 years old. With this advanced age, it makes it very hard for this group of workers to be found as desirable for other employers to consider them for employment. Very hard for a 54-year-old or later to get hired. One of our members was recently laid off for nearly a year. During this time, he became ill, and now he needs dialysis. He had to let his insurance lapse while on layoff due to the high cost. Now he wonders if he will be able to make his mortgage payments, buy the groceries, utilities, car payment, and other financial obligation. He may never have been laid off if it was not for the illegal imports from countries like China and Indonesia. There are many other stories of hardship out there from people that were laid off. Time does not allow us to cover all of them now. As Judy mentioned, we have 400 letters that people have handwritten themselves. They took the time to write. But another aspect to consider is the company's view, which in my capacity I don't do as often as I should probably. As some workers are laid off, others need to be trained to perform their task. Safety suffers, the product suffers, and all of this can be very expensive. Mills like ours also have a fixed cost. A mill as large as ours is not configured to run at less capacity. The cost of production goes way up as we reduce production and we shut down parts of the mill. Paper mills are made to run full. If you don't run them full, you're losing money. In short, the workers suffer, the community suffers, and the company suffers when we have cheap imported, illegally subsidized paper dumped on our market. and we're asking you for support to help stop this practice. Just a couple of figures I jotted down. The Rumford Mill used to pay 75 to 80% of the town taxes in Rumford. Now, because of the equipment we've shut down in the past 15 or so years, they're down to paying about 40% of the town taxes. That's why Rumford is in trouble. So that's a huge drop, and if the mill closes, that is going to go way down. The Rumford budget cannot take it. About 70 to 80% of the town's budget is also used by the school budget. So when you figure out how much of a reduction the mill is now paying because of the depreciation and the loss of equipment they've shut down, the value is not there anymore, the schools are really going to suffer along with the town. Then just one other thing I want to talk about for a second is, and I believe Dan touched on it somewhat, I expected, I went and I did a presentation to Turner, and I expected to have a little bit of resistance down there maybe. They're about the most removed town from our mill. I think there was about 8 or 10 people that lived down there, and they liked what we had to say enough that they actually wrote a cover letter, which we didn't ask them to do, and I want to share that with you. To whom it may concern, the Turner Board of Selectmen met on March 15, 2010, and reviewed information regarding the importance of manufacturing to the local economy and expressed support for strong enforcement of our trade laws. They also expressed support for the domestic coated paper industry and its workers in our area who have been injured by unfair trade practices by foreign producers, and they did this by signing the attached resolution. And I'm not going to read the whole resolution, I just want to touch on a piece of it. The resolution has a lot of whereas, and you're probably used to these kind of things. And there are all the reasons and facts of why we're going to do what we're doing. And then it's got another half page on it, and then we get to the resolve. I'm just going to touch on the last part of the resolve. And this is what we made it very clear we're asking the towns to do for us. By signing this, the United States Department of Commerce and the United States International Trade Commission should hold Chinese and Indonesian producers accountable for unfair trade practices that distort markets, devastate production and employment in the United States, and affect the livelihood of the town of Turner and communities throughout the United States. And I want to touch, I think, on a question that you asked a minute ago. I can't read your name, Ms. Dixonson. You asked about whether or not these tariffs will help us, if it can actually help to level the playing field. What happens is they will put on tariffs. There's two types, there's the countervailing and there's the anti-dumping. And they'll put them on in the amount that these countries are cheating. By doing that, that will bring us close enough that we can compete, because paper is a very heavy product. It costs a lot of money for them to send it from China or Indonesia all the way to the U.S. and get it into our markets. We're comfortable that because of the difference of the transportation, the quality of our work and our technology, and being able to advance our product and make it better all the time, we know we can compete. But as everybody else has said, we don't need an edge. All we need to do is have them obey the laws that are already on the books in trade. And this is even in free trade. We haven't even started talking about fair trade yet. Mike Michaud has introduced a fair trade bill to in the United States Congress. And I really believe that is something else that we desperately need. My wife and her brother both lost their jobs in the shoe industry, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And they were also covered by TRA, TAA. And it's like, they would rather have had their original jobs. That has something that helps make it up, but in today's economy, there's not a lot of things you can go to school for that's going to replace the kind of wages that these manufacturing jobs are paying. So, thank you very much.
When you're going through, going to Turner and stuff like that, I think you could, I don't know if you know where I live, but it's quite a bit north of here, and I'm not sure about New Page so much, but it wouldn't surprise me. But Sappy, I cut wood all the time. It goes to Sappy, so that's how far-reaching this is across the state. Of course, our issue is many times we can't get anywhere because of the imports coming into the state to cut the wood. But the wood out of the Allagash area is definitely supplying the Sappy mill. So.
One other thing, I heard a question on whether or not the other mills will be included if they can sign on and such. I think a lot of the reasons this came up is